I'm Elaine Matthews, 34 years old. Until last month, I served as the engineering director at my family's firm. For 12 years, I dedicated myself to Matthews Engineering Solutions, only to be left in shock when my mother labeled me too costly. During our quarterly board meeting, my father couldn't even meet my gaze. "We could hire 3 junior engineers for your salary," he said. My younger brother, Kyle, smirked, tapping his pointer on the spreadsheet. "Nothing personal, just cost-cutting." I quietly gathered my things and left. Little did I know, their frantic calls would start soon after. Before I delve deeper, where are you tuning in from today? Hit that like button and subscribe if you've ever been caught off guard by family betrayal. Trust me, you'll want to know what unfolded next. I graduated from MIT with honors, with several job offers from tech giants ready to skyrocket my career. Google, Apple, and Microsoft were eager to have me on board, but my choice was clear. Matthews Engineering Solutions had been my father's dream for 3 decades, and I intended to make it mine as well. Dad founded the company in our garage when I was just 4. I grew up watching him sketch designs at our kitchen table, his engineering notebooks filling our shelves. The pride in his eyes was unmistakable when I showed early talent in math and science. "You've got the Matthews engineering gene," he'd say, ruffling my hair. By the time I graduated, the company had evolved from that garage setup into a respectable mid-sized firm specializing in industrial automation systems. We weren't huge, but we had earned a solid reputation in the industry. Dad offered me an entry-level position, promising no favoritism. "You'll work your way up like everyone else," he said, and I admired him for that. Those early years were tough but rewarding. I canceled dates to finish projects, worked weekends to meet deadlines, and postponed vacations for client emergencies. I was the first in the office each day and often the last to leave. The company was my identity. Through hard work and undeniable results, I rose from junior engineer to project lead within 5 years. By year 7, I led the entire engineering department, managing a team of 28 talented professionals who respected my technical skills and leadership. My crowning achievement came when I secured the Westbrook manufacturing contract, a 7-figure deal that changed our company's future. I spent months assessing their operations, identifying inefficiencies, and designing a custom automation solution to boost productivity by 30%. When I pitched my proposal, the executives were so impressed they signed on the spot, canceling meetings with our larger competitors. That night, Dad took me to dinner, just the 2 of us. "I always knew you were special, Elaine," he said, raising his glass. "This company will be your legacy someday." We stayed until closing, discussing future plans and innovations. The bond between us had never felt stronger. Everything shifted when Kyle joined the company 3 years ago. Fresh from his MBA, he convinced our parents that the company needed his business perspective. While I focused on building our technical reputation, Kyle argued for more attention to profit margins and growth strategies. At first, I welcomed his insights. We had different strengths, and I believed we could complement each other. Dad seemed thrilled to have both children in the family business, and Mom had always favored her youngest, the Matthews dream team. Dad called us during Kyle's welcome dinner. But subtle changes began almost immediately. In meetings, my mother, Diane, would look to Kyle for approval after I spoke. When I proposed new technical directions, she'd often ask, "What does Kyle think about this?" before making decisions. I noticed Dad deferring to her more often, his engineering background seemingly less valued than Kyle's business theories. Despite these changes, I remained committed to our company's success. My team continued to deliver exceptional work, and our client satisfaction ratings soared. I thought results would ultimately speak for themselves. I was mistaken. The first sign of trouble came 6 months after Kyle's arrival. I had developed a proposal to expand our engineering capabilities into renewable energy systems, a growing market where we could adapt with minimal investment. When I finished presenting, the room fell silent. "That's an interesting perspective," my mother finally said. "Kyle, didn't you mention something similar in your growth report last month?" Kyle nodded confidently. Yes, I've been researching the renewable sector. I think we could adjust Elaine's proposal and make it work. I sat stunned as Kyle effectively repackaged my ideas while suggesting my approach needed refinement. My father, once my greatest supporter, merely nodded along. When the Anderson Systems contract was up for bid, I worked nights and weekends preparing our proposal. Anderson represented the largest potential client in our history, and their project aligned perfectly with our expertise. After an intense pitch process, we secured the contract, a moment that should have marked my greatest accomplishment. Instead, during the announcement meeting, my mother praised the team effort, particularly highlighting Kyle's financial models that made our bid competitive. In truth, Kyle had only contributed a pricing spreadsheet that I had extensively revised. When the client specifically mentioned my engineering solutions as the deciding factor, my mother quickly added, "Elaine and Kyle make such a wonderful brother-sister team." The following week, I learned that Kyle had been assigned as the primary contact for the Anderson account, the account I had secured. When I questioned this decision, my mother dismissed my concerns. "Kyle has a better grasp of the business side. The client needs to see our strategic vision, not just technical details." Resources for my engineering department began to dwindle. Budget requests that once received routine approval now required extensive justification. Equipment upgrades were postponed, and hiring freezes were enforced despite our growing workload. Meanwhile, calls were authorized to expand sales and marketing departments with minimal oversight. During a family dinner, I overheard my mother and Kyle discussing necessary restructuring in the hallway. Upon noticing me, they abruptly changed the subject. That night, my mother barely spoke to me, her attention solely focused on Kyle's recent golf tournament victory. Marcus Johnson, our senior electrical engineer and my most trusted colleague, pulled me aside after a particularly tense meeting. "Something's happening, Elaine," he warned. "There are rumors about major changes coming to the engineering department. People are anxious." I dismissed his concerns, unable to believe my family would undermine the department that had built the company's reputation. "It's probably just budget season stress," I assured him. "Once the Anderson project launches, everything will settle." The following week, I noticed my team's access to certain company files had been restricted. When I inquired, the IT manager uncomfortably explained that the directive had come from upstairs. Later that day, I saw Kyle exiting my father's office, looking particularly pleased. That evening, I called my father to discuss my concerns. He sounded unusually distant, claiming he was too busy to talk about work matters, suggesting we discuss it later at the office. In 12 years, he had never been too busy for me at our monthly family brunch. Usually casual, my mother spent the entire time discussing Kyle's recent presentation to the board, a meeting I hadn't been invited to. When I asked about it, she vaguely mentioned confidential business planning and quickly changed the topic. Despite overwhelming evidence, I couldn't believe my family would betray me. I had literally built my life around Matthews Engineering Solutions. The company's success was my success. The clients trusted me. My team respected me. Surely, my family recognized my value. So, I doubled down, working even harder to prove my worth. I oversaw every aspect of the Anderson project preparation, ensuring all specifications exceeded expectations. I documented every contribution, every solved problem, every efficiency gained. I stayed positive in meetings, supported company initiatives, and avoided confrontation with Kyle. In hindsight, I was in denial about what was clearly coming. The signs were unmistakable, yet I refused to acknowledge them. The calendar invitation arrived late Thursday afternoon, strategic planning discussion, Friday at 4 p.m., main conference room. No agenda, no preparatory materials, just my parents, Kyle, and me listed as attendees. The timing felt ominous. Important decisions were rarely made at the end of the workweek, but I brushed aside my unease and prepared a quick update on ongoing projects just in case. When I arrived at the conference room that Friday, they were already seated, my mother at the head of the table, my father and Kyle flanking her. The arrangement itself was telling. Throughout the company's history, my father had always taken the head position with my mother beside him. This visual restructuring of family hierarchy sent a chill through me before a single word was spoken. "Elaine, thank you for joining us," my mother began, her tone formal and foreign to our family dynamic. She wore her most severe business attire, her expression impassive. "We've been conducting a thorough analysis of our operational structure and expenses." My father stared down at his clasped hands, his usual warmth entirely absent. Kyle sat poised, a leather portfolio open before him, a slight smile on his lips. "As you know, the business landscape is evolving. Matthews Engineering Solutions must adapt to remain competitive. After careful consideration of our financial position and future projections, we've determined that certain structural changes are necessary." I nodded, still naively believing this was about departmental reorganization. "I've actually been working on some efficiency improvements for the engineering team," I offered. "I'd be happy to share my thoughts on how we can optimize our processes." My mother's expression didn't change. "That won't be necessary, Elaine. The board has already reached its decision." The board, meaning my parents and Kyle, 3 against 1. Kyle took over, sliding a printed presentation across the table. "If you look at the numbers, they tell a clear story." He stood and pointed to a bar graph comparing departmental expenses. "Engineering salaries represent our largest overhead, with your position being the most significant individual expense." He clicked to the next slide, featuring a pie chart with my salary as a separate slice. "Your current compensation package could fund 3 junior engineers with greater output potential." The room seemed to tilt as I processed his words. This wasn't about reorganization. This was about me. "We're eliminating your position. Effective immediately," my mother stated flatly. "The engineering director role will be restructured into multiple lower-level positions, reporting directly to Kyle as COO." I looked to my father, waiting for him to object, to defend me, to acknowledge my 12 years of dedication. He briefly met my eyes, then looked away, his face a mask of discomfort. "Dad," my voice cracked slightly. "Do you agree with this?" After an excruciating silence, he spoke without looking up. "The numbers make sense, Elaine. It's a business decision," Kyle continued, as if this emotional moment was just another bullet point in his presentation. "We've prepared a severance package that's quite generous: 6 months' salary, extended health benefits, and outstanding vacation pay." He pushed a folder toward me. Legal had already drawn up the necessary paperwork. The premeditation struck me like a physical blow. While I had been working overtime to ensure the Anderson project's success, they had met with lawyers to orchestrate my removal. But the Anderson project begins next month. They specifically requested my involvement. I developed the entire system architecture. "We'll manage the transition," Kyle replied dismissively. "I've been shadowing you on this account. I've prepared detailed notes on all technical aspects." I almost laughed at the absurdity. Kyle had attended 2 client meetings, spent most of them on his phone, and asked me afterward to summarize the technical details because he had been focusing on relationship building. "This is a mistake," I said firmly, finally finding my voice. "My team respects me. The clients trust me. I've delivered consistent results for 12 years. I've sacrificed everything for this company." My mother's expression hardened. This kind of emotional appeal is exactly why we need more objective leadership. "Elaine, business decisions can't be based on sentimentality." "Sentimentality?" I echoed in disbelief. "Is that what you call my track record of success? The Westbrook contract, the Peterson account, the industry awards our team has won?" Kyle interjected smoothly. "All achievements we value. But the company needs to evolve. It's simple mathematics." He tapped his pen against the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
3 junior engineers for the price of 1 director. Nothing personal, just cost cutting. The casual cruelty of that statement, delivered with a smirk I'll never forget, finally made everything clear. This wasn't about business at all. This was a power play, and I had lost before I even knew the game had begun. I stood up slowly, gathering whatever dignity I could muster. I assume you'll want my office cleared out today. My mother nodded. HR has prepared boxes for your personal items. Your system access has already been updated. Of course, it had. They hadn't even considered that I might fight for my position. I picked up the severance agreement without opening it. I'll have my lawyer review this. As I reached the door, Kyle called after me. We'll need your building access card before you leave. I turned back one last time, taking in the tableau, my triumphant brother, my coldly efficient mother, and my defeated father, the man who had once told me this company would be my legacy. Congratulations on your restructuring, I said quietly. I hope it brings you everything you deserve. The walk back to my office felt surreal, as if I were moving through a strange dream where familiar surroundings suddenly became threatening. Colleagues I had passed in these hallways thousands of times now watched with confused expressions as I moved past them, my face betraying the shock I couldn't hide. My office door, with its nameplate reading, Elaine Matthews, Engineering Director, stood as a final monument to what I had built and lost in a single afternoon. Inside, cardboard boxes had indeed been placed on my desk, and an HR assistant hovered awkwardly beside them. I can give you privacy, she offered, clearly uncomfortable with her assignment. Thank you, I managed to reply, though I barely recognized my own voice. Word spread fast. Before I had filled my first box, Marcus appeared in my doorway, his face a mixture of anger and disbelief. Is it true? He demanded, then lowered his voice when he saw my expression. Elaine, they can't do this. The Anderson implementation is weeks away. The team won't accept this. I continued methodically emptying my desk, family photos, technical manuals, the award plaque from the Industrial Automation Association. Each item represented years of dedication now rendered meaningless. It's done, Marcus, I said flatly. Effective immediately. Kyle will be taking over. Kyle? Marcus didn't bother hiding his contempt. He wouldn't know a circuit diagram from a flowchart. This is insanity. By then, several other engineers had gathered outside my office, their expressions ranging from shock to outrage. Jessica Chin, my brilliant systems architect, actually had tears in her eyes. These people weren't just colleagues, they were my professional family, more loyal than my actual family had proven to be. I appreciate all of you, I told them, forcing strength into my voice. It's been an honor working with this team. Please continue the excellent work you're known for. Marcus insisted on helping me carry my boxes to the car. In the parking lot, away from watching eyes, my composure finally cracked. Leaning against my car, boxes at my feet, I let out a shuddering breath that turned into a sob. This isn't the end, Marcus said firmly, awkwardly patting my shoulder. You're the best engineer I've ever worked with. Any company would be lucky to have you. 12 years, I whispered. 12 years of my life. The drive home passed in a blur of shock and disbelief. Traffic lights changed, other cars moved around me, but I barely registered any of it. My mind kept replaying that smirk on Kyle's face, 3 junior engineers for the price of 1 director. My apartment felt like a stranger's home when I arrived. I had spent so little time there over the years, always prioritizing work over personal comfort. Now its emptiness seemed to mock me. No partner, few friends outside work, minimal personal possessions. I had sacrificed everything for a company that had discarded me without hesitation. I didn't leave my apartment that entire weekend. Phone notifications piled up with concerned messages from team members and a few industry contacts who had somehow already heard the news. I ignored them all, unable to find responses that wouldn't reveal how utterly devastated I felt. Sunday evening, my phone displayed a notification that twisted the knife further, a calendar reminder for the weekly family dinner I had attended faithfully for years. Minutes later, a text from my mother read, given current circumstances, perhaps. Best to skip dinner tonight. Not even a personal call, just a cold text message excising me from yet another aspect of my life. Monday morning arrived with cruel brightness, sunlight streaming through blinds I had forgotten to close. For the first time in 12 years, I had nowhere to go. No projects demanding my attention, no team looking to me for guidance. The disorientation was profound, like losing gravity itself. I finally forced myself to check my email, finding a message from our family company's HR department requesting that I sign and return the severance agreement by Wednesday. The corporate letter.